Hi there. And you are inside of Stress Talk Live. This is the place where we help women over 40 to live healthier lives through strategic stress management and solution focused self care. We are talking about data today, numbers. Numbers matter, and they matter when it comes to our mental health. So, today on Stress Talk Live, we're going to be talking about why these mental health statistics matter. And it's a Black woman's guide to wellness. And we're going to get to it in just one moment. Hi there, I'm Marcyline Bailey, and I am your host for Stress Talk Live. This is a pre recorded video, and I am pre recording it because, quite frankly, um, I needed the time to do work on some other things. So, with that being said, I am not going to belabor or take a lot of time to talk about what we're going to talk about today. Before I get to it, though, I do want to share with you to like, follow, and subscribe to ML Bailey Consultants on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. You can also find me on LinkedIn under Marcyline Bailey. Not only that, go to this tap link, and this has a link to my newsletter. Please subscribe to it. I think you'll get some helpful information, including the replay of the stream today, the podcast today, as well as a summary, yay, and a worksheet for you to go through during the week. Also, it includes some announcements for you as well. This is my website, ML Bailey, www.mlbaileyconsultants.com. That's where you'll find additional information about me. And I know I keep looking back and forth, so I have a split screen. So if you will, and my controls are over here. So I keep looking at my controls to make sure I'm pressing the right buttons at the right time. Excuse me. Okay, let's jump into our topic today. So, why am I talking about this today? I'm talking about it because we're living through an era that many of us have never experienced. Um, my mother, who will be 90 years old in a couple of weeks, has is also questioning what is going on. What is all of this? This is crazy. None of this makes sense. And at 90 years old, she still has the wherewithal to know that this is not normal. It is not our normal. It is not these things that are happening in the world, particularly in this country, are not normal. It's different. It is very different. And because of that, there are a lot of people, many of us are under a tremendous amount of stress because the stress, I'm looking at a red-headed woodpecker right now outside my window. It is so beautiful. It's on a tree and it's starting to peck. It's beautiful out there. Anyway, focus. I'm getting focused. Um, we're under a tremendous amount of stress because we don't know from day to day what is going to happen next, right? This is so different. This is so new. This is not the norm. It's not the usual, and it's scary. Many people come to me for therapy. They come to me through their EAP, their Employee Assistance Program, and The theme of the day, the theme of every session lately has been, I'm scared. I don't know what to expect, and I don't know how to handle it. And so, for this reason, I felt that it would be probably a good idea or expedient to talk about mental health and to really get into some statistics today about mental health. Now, of course, with most other things, other statistics, these statistics are old. They're several years old. There was a study done by the there was a national survey on drug use and health by the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration. So, and those of you who work in mental health and substance abuse know that as SAMHSA, right? So SAMHSA did a national survey in the year 2022, and they looked at the prevalence of mental illness and the estimated prevalence of mental illness that included diagnosable illnesses during the current year as well as in 2021. So, yes, we're in 2025 now, and I'm giving you statistics that are older. However, I think it is still helpful to talk about these statistics because we can kind of get a sense of where we are, where we were, as well as where we are. Now, in this study, I want to share with you in this particular study. There was it was based on the criteria for the DSM-4, and the DSM-4 is the fourth edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, and that is the manual. The DSM is really the manual. It's kind of like the Bible that mental health practitioners, including psychiatrists, psychologists, clinical social workers, licensed professional counselors, mental health certified mental health professionals. We all use this DSM-4 to determine, or as a guide to determine a diagnosis. It gives us background. It gives us information on what to look for in terms of symptoms and signs related to mental health disorders. And so this survey, when they looked at the mental health disorders or the mental illness that they were trying to determine how many people had or whatever, they used this as a criteria, the DSM as a criteria. We are now using the DSM-5 and the DSM-5 revised. So the DSM-4 is just the manual, that the version of the manual, the edition of the manual, is the previous edition prior to the one that we're currently using. I know that was a mouthful, wasn't it? It was a mouthful, but I hope you got it. The other thing about this survey that I'm going to share with you, the information I'm going to share with you, is that it excluded developmental as well as substance use disorders. So when we're talking about developmental disorders, we're talking about individuals who have some type of delay, cognitive delay. That's when we're talking about developmental disorders. And then substance use disorders, we usually know that that's alcohol abuse, or alcohol abuse, or any narcotic abuse, or any type of drug abuse. And that includes not only abuse, but it includes dependence. So this survey looked at mental illness and not developmental disorders or substance use disorders. So, the other thing about this survey, um, they divided mental illness into two categories. One category was any mental illness, and when they categorized any mental illness, they were looking at mental, behavioral, or emotional disorders that fell under mild, moderate, or severe impairment. Meaning that, for example, someone may have anxiety, right? But this person who has anxiety is going to work every day, managing their household every day. They are mildly impaired. They may or may not be on medication. They may have gone to see a therapist. Okay. But their condition of anxiety does not impair them to the point where they're unable to function. So, any mental illness, mild, moderate, or severe. Then they categorize severe mental illness. And the severe mental illness fell under, they looked at a mental, behavioral, or an emotional disorder that caused severe or serious functional impairment. And what that meant was that it substantially interfered with or limited at least one or more major life activities, meaning that this person in their as they were going through their lives on a daily basis, they were unable to function or to carry out a major life activity, one or more of their major life activities. So, what does that look like? Um, when I think of that, you're talking about someone who is unable to um, wash, bathe, dress themselves appropriately, um, manage a household. This may be someone who um, needs assistance in order to just maintain during the day. Okay. What we also know is that the burden of mental illness is concentrated among those who experience a disability due to a serious mental illness. So you have individuals who are so, whose illness or condition is so severe that they are disabled. They're not able to work. They're not able to maintain a home. They're not able to manage just their daily living activities. So I know that some of you are, all of you are watching this replay, and some of you will watch the replay when it's posted. But just give thought to that. I'd like for you to give thought to that. Do you know someone who, and when we talk about these statistics, I'm sure you're going to answer yes to this, but do you know someone who is experiencing a severe mental illness and they are unable to function without support? You don't have to drop that into the chat. I just want you to think about it. Just give some thought to it. So let's talk about the prevalence of mental illness. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And let's see if this is the right screen I want to share. Yeah, this is the exact screen. Let me do this also. Let me first, before I do this, let's get out of this banner. And let's talk about the prevalence of Any mental illness. How about that? Okay, let's do that. Oops. Okay. So this is a, this is, I'm just, there we go. I had to switch my screens around a little bit. Sorry about that. Okay. So this is information about, or data about the prevalence of mental illness among adults in the United States as of 2022. And this is any mental illness. And remember, when we're talking about any mental illness, we're actually talking about it could be anxiety, it could be depression, it could be a range of things. But we're looking at individuals who are aged 18 and older. So as you look at this graph, you'll see that it's broken down into sex or gender, age, as well as race and ethnicity. And it was estimated in 2022 that approximately 59 million adults aged 18 or older were diagnosed with a AMI, or a mental illness. And what that rounds out to is about 23% of all U.S. adults. Almost a quarter of the adults in the United States has been diagnosed with a mental illness. Now, when we look at when we break it down between males and females, we see that the observed prevalence of mental illness is higher among females. And you'll see that it's a little over a quarter in terms of percentage of the population at 26.4%. And among males, it's 19.7%. You'll also see that individuals in the age range of 19 to 25 had the highest prevalence of any mental illness among U.S. adults during this survey. And you see that here, approximately 36% of individuals in the age range of 18 to 25. Among individuals 26 to 49, it was 29%, or almost 30%. And then 50 or over, it was 13.9%. Now, what's of interest to me is the breakdown as it relates to race. And you'll find that on the right side of our chart. What you see in this chart is that individuals who reported a two or more races had a higher percentage of prevalence of mental illness among U.S. adults during this time period. A higher percentage at 35%. I think that's quite interesting. 35% among multiracial adults had a higher prevalence. Okay. Also, what was found during this survey is that adults aged 18 or 22 who were multiracial also were more likely to have had a serious mental illness in the past year compared to a much lower prevalence among white, Hispanic, and Black individuals. Okay. So this is the prevalence of any mental illness. So let's look at the past year. And excuse me. And again, this is any mental illness. And we're talking about treatment now. So when you look at the statistics, you also see that individuals, when we're talking about treatment, or when they talked about treatment during the survey, they were talking about any inpatient treatment or counseling, any outpatient treatment or counseling, or any prescription medication that was used for mental health. And when we're talking about inpatient treatment, we're talking about the person is actually in a hospital or facility and being treated for a mental illness. When we're talking about outpatient treatment, we're talking about a person who goes to, for example, goes to therapy or goes to see their doctor for their prescription, but they return home. They're not housed at a facility or in a hospital for a period of time. So in 2022, you'll see, and here are the statistics again, that approximately 50, a little over almost 51% of those who were diagnosed with a mental illness received treatment during the previous year. So when, remember the statistics from earlier, and I will put these charts in a PDF for you to download with the newsletter. So over almost 51%, over 50% of the individuals who were diagnosed with any mental illness received treatment. And that would be close to 30 million people. Now, remember, we had approximately 59 million people, or almost 60 million people, who were diagnosed with a mental illness, but only about half received treatment for that. Our chart shows us that more females received mental health treatment than males did. That's something to really consider, especially when if you are providing treatment for mental illness, or you're dealing with a family member or a friend who you suspect may have a mental illness. But women received treatment more than men, almost by 10% or so. Also, as you're looking at this chart, you'll see that people who are over 50 also received treatment at a greater percentage than individuals who were younger. Okay. Now, when it comes to race and ethnicity, again, this is an area that I'm interested in. As you'll see, if you're looking at this chart, what you see is individuals who identified as being white, as well as individuals who identified with two or more races, received treatment at a greater percentage than everybody else. Hispanic, Latino individuals, Black, African American individuals, or Asian individuals. That is a big spread. This survey does not go into the reasons for that, but it is something that during this month we're going to be talking about. What's the reason? What's causing that great disparity? And I don't know if it's a disparity or if I should just say gap. Let's call it a gap for today. But again, females receive, overall, the percentage of females receive treatment more so than males. Individuals who are 50 or over receive treatment more so than those who are younger. And when it comes to race and ethnicity, white individuals And individuals who identify with two or more races receive treatment more so than any other race or ethnicity. Okay. So we're talking about any mental illness right now. Let's talk about serious mental illness. Okay. And I'm going to pull up, I think, oh, here we go. Okay. Let's talk about the prevalence of serious mental illness. So, when we're talking about the prevalence of serious mental illness, it is estimated that individuals between the ages of 18 and 25, 18 and 25, have a higher prevalence of serious mental illness than any other age range. I skipped um, I skipped gender, but as you can see, females have a higher percentage than males. Age wise, those 18 to 25 have a much higher percentage than anyone older. And then let's look at race and ethnicity. In the past year, meaning in 2022, individuals who identified as being multiracial, having two or more races, yes, multiracial, had a much higher percentage as well of serious mental illness. And then let's talk about treatment. Who received treatment? Overall, individuals who were diagnosed with a serious mental illness overall received there were 67% of them received treatment. Yay! Females, of course, again, led the way. And again, when we're talking about treatment, we're talking about inpatient treatment or counseling, outpatient treatment or counseling, or receiving and taking prescription medications for a mental illness. Females receive treatment more so than males for serious mental illness. Age-wise, individuals who were 50 and over received treatment more so than anyone younger. Although statistically, those who were 18 to 25 was over 60%. Those who were 26 to 49, it was 67%. But individuals who are 50 and over receive treatment more so. So again, there's a lot of questions as to why that is. Well, let's look at the statistics for race and ethnicity. As you can see, individuals who identify as white or who identify with having two or more races receive overall, percentage-wise, they receive mental health treatment at a greater percentage than those who are Hispanic or Latino or Black or African American. The survey does not talk about the whys around that. We're just talking numbers right now. Okay, just numbers. 71.4% of white individuals who have been diagnosed with severe or serious mental illness, and 73.9, almost 74% of individuals who identify as having two or more races receive mental health treatment for their serious mental illness. as compared to 58% of Hispanic Latino individuals and 52% of Black or African American individuals. I'd like to add to this, again, I'm sharing this because we're going to be talking about um, statistics, and we're going to be talking about mental health this month. And I think it's really important to see the data, to see the information um, as we're talking about it, right? It's real helpful to know what we're actually, what are we saying and why are we saying the things that we're sharing. Um, I'd also like to share with you information that about these statistics. Now, um, I thought this was really interesting that when it comes to suicide, individuals who are aged 18 and older in 2022 who had serious thoughts of suicide was higher among multiracial adults at 9.3%. So multiracial adults had a much higher percentage of individuals who had serious thoughts of suicide than any other race or ethnicity. Additionally, I wanted to share that in terms of mental health treatment, when I showed you that one of the statistics that the survey found is that individuals who had a major depressive episode, okay, during the previous year, 2021, it said that individuals who were 18 or older adults during that year, that among those individuals, Hispanic or Black adults were less likely than white or multiracial adults to have received mental health treatment during the previous year. So a major depressive episode is when you are, I describe it as being in a hole and you can't get out, a hole mentally and emotionally, and you just can't get out of it. A major depressive episode. And we have lots of concerns about major depressive episodes because sometimes that can lead to suicidal ideation, a person feeling as if they need to or want to kill themselves. And so individuals, Hispanic individuals, Black individuals, were less likely to receive treatment for that. And again, that's of interest to me. So I shared this information with you because we're going to draw upon it when we continue our discussion this month about why these mental health statistics matter, a Black woman's guide to wellness. So I've just talked about that, and I shared with you the prevalence rates of common mental health conditions. I've talked about the prevalence of any mental illness as well as serious mental illness. And I shared with you charts that had mental health statistics, treatment statistics, as well as prevalence of mental illness. So I hope you will join me next time when we continue our discussion about why these mental health statistics matter. We're going to get down into it, and I hope it will be helpful to you because we are facing some tenuous times and rocky seas, and we want to be prepared. Not only do we want to be prepared for ourselves, we want to be prepared for those we love and those we care for. Well, that's it for now. I'm Marcyline Bailey. As always, take good care.